Welcome to the JP8 report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 report. Welcome to the show. This is episode 25, DC Article 1, Section 8. Before we begin, like usual, you're watching us, please subscribe to the podcast. This is our 25th episode, pretty good, and we're going to deal with the District of Columbia for this episode. So if you see us online on Podbean or Rumble, Rumble's my primary, or YouTube or Facebook, a whole slew of different platforms, don't forget to subscribe and get the notifications that come with it. We're there for you, and I like doing this. I work pretty hard during the week, and this is my chance to sit down and talk to fellow conservatives. Kind of wish I had the capability of talking to people face to face. Maybe that'll come someday. But my email address is jp8report@gmail.com, and you can always leave notifications and comments on Rumble and YouTube, and I believe you can do it on Podbean also. I'm not sure. I'll have to check that out. Lots happening. This episode is dealing with yesterday's vote. Yesterday was April 22nd, and they had a vote in the House of Representatives, 216 to 208. Go figure. It was 216 Democrats and 208 Republicans that voted in the state in the House of Representatives concerning DC statehood. If you look at the vote, 216 Democrats. Now, the majority in the House of Representatives is 218, so not everybody voted. Surely they don't have enough Democrats on board anyway, but they passed it yesterday on a party line vote. No defections on either side. I don't know why they're doing this. There's like one thing, back in the Obama administration, you'd see every week they'd have something new every week by clockwork. Here, it seems like to me like it's every day. The progressives, the socialists that comprise the majority of the Democratic Party, the Democrat Party. I'm sorry, they're not Democratic; they're just Democrats. They're socialist, and they don't care whether to be their biased CRTs or their anti-police stuff or socialistic Green New Deal. It just keeps going and going and going. Well, yesterday they tried a new one, and it was just a pure power grab. They attempted so. They went to the House of Representatives. They were planning this. They went forward, and they tried to argue why D.C. should become a state. Evidently, these people can't read. And the reason why I'm saying that, they can't read, because if you read in the United States Constitution, that's the document that even me, because I'm elected, every one of us that are elected have to swear to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. So if you look in the Constitution under Article 1, Section 8, okay, Article 1 deals with the legislative branch. Okay, so you go down to Section 8 at the very end, second to the last paragraph, and I'm going to read it because this is the concept of the podcast for DC. To exercise legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 miles square as may, by cession of particular states and acceptance by Congress, become the seat of the government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state, and in which the same shall be for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. What part of the capital as a state is in there? It says district. Okay, so when the Constitution was written, they went and Maryland and Virginia both agreed on their sides of the Potomac River to provide land for the building of the United States Capitol. Okay, so on the Maryland side, they used it primarily for building it. On the Virginia side, I believe that most of it was pretty swampy, so that's where you get the swamp. So eventually that land was given back to Virginia, but the Maryland side they kept for Washington, D.C. Okay, have the seat of our U.S. government there. All the I think it's by statute. I'm pretty sure that all agencies reporting to the president have to be within a certain mile radius to be able to be located in Washington. But that's always able to be changed by statute anyway, by law. Okay, so Maryland and Virginia both provided land, and most of the land provided by Virginia was given back to Virginia because it was not useful. They probably should have kept it anyway, but I digress. Okay, so it says in the Constitution, over such a district not exceeding 10 miles square. Okay, so why did they say that? Well, if you look back in Federalist 43, written by James Madison, President James Madison, okay, and it's, if you look in section 2 of Federalist 43, it talks about that, okay, and it explains it in detail. The reason for the capital not being a state or being located in a state like Philadelphia or New York, because if the capital was in Philadelphia, what would happen then is the state of Pennsylvania could unduly influence the decisions of the federal government concerning Pennsylvania. Or when it was in New York, the same thing. The government of New York could well, you know what? If you want to be here, you're going to do this. It's like a bribe you can do. So to alleviate all those indulgent powers from these states, they decided to make something neutral where people can actually come to the capital and do their business with the federal government without having been legally liable to a particular state that they're in at that moment. So take that, and you can look at that as a reason. Okay. Also, if Washington D.C. was a state, how would they function as a state? They don't have they don't have their own state police. They have the U.S. Capitol Police. They have D.C. Metro Police. They got the D.C. National Guard. Most of those people come from other states in the surrounding area that are a member in that. The infrastructure inside of Washington, D.C., most of the federal government is located in Washington, D.C. Those buildings are owned by the federal government. How would Washington, D.C. Get their funding to be a functional city? They don't, like I suggested, they don't even have a landfill. They can't do nothing. The city is fully subservient to the federal government. They have a mayor, and then the mayor answers to the Secretary of the Army. He's the de facto governor of the District of Columbia. So let's say government swells. It swells every day, doesn't it? But let's say the government swells. They need a new building. Okay, so first and foremost, they do what they call request for qualification, or an RFQ. Okay, so we're going to need a new building. Let's build this building on the corner of Pennsylvania and K Street, whatever. Okay, it's been a long time since I've been in Washington, D.C. So, what did I say? Pennsylvania and K. I don't even know if K Street, I think it does. I don't know if they intersect. But, so, right now, that's private property. They pay property taxes to the government of Washington, D.C. Let's say if D.C. was a state, okay? So, federal government builds a building. Let's say they build a 5-story building. That's 50,000 square feet on each side. Who pays the property tax for that? Well, it belongs to the federal government, so there's no property tax involved. So, does D.C. allow the U.S. government to build a building there? Their Planning and Zoning Commission can say no, because we need that property tax. We're going to lose that property tax because you're going to build a federal building there. Well, isn't it the federal government's job to conduct the business of the government in our country? Well, the state just prohibited the federal government from building infrastructure to adequately enforce the laws of the United States. That is why Washington, D.C. was built. Okay, not to make people lose their rights to vote. It was only built to be a central district where commerce could be conducted to provide for the functioning government of the United States. If you don't like it, you can leave Washington, D.C. and move to Maryland. There was a proposal yesterday. If they want to vote for senator, why don't they just allow citizens inside of the District of Columbia, which was part of Maryland, vote for U.S. Senate in Maryland? That would give them a right to vote. But it would not work out with the with them being a state. There's no way possible, except for what the Democrats want are 2 Democrat senators from that area to be in the U.S. Senate, to put the burden of power in the hands of the Democrats and prevent the Republicans from ever coming back and being majority in the U.S. Senate. Got another thing coming to them. It's coming anyway. Whether it'll be 51 states or 50 states, the Republicans will be in the majority, because this nonsense has got to end. Okay, but it's a pure power grab, But to be able to get to that point, there's that F word again, filibuster. Okay, F is for filibuster. F is for filibuster. So right now, it needs 60 votes to get through the U.S. Senate. Manchin and Sinema both say, no, we're not negotiating on the filibuster. Thank you very much for that. Okay, because D.C. is not, according to the Constitution, no, it ain't going to happen. Okay, you can play your little games and then say, hey, according to my will, according to the legislature can make anybody a U.S. state. Well, there's other prerequisites besides that. Okay, and then we kind of threaded the needle in 1863 when West Virginia became a state, because it was part of Virginia, and according to the Constitution, entities within existing states can't be ceded to a new state unless the state legislature says yes, it can. But technically, we were at war against Virginia, and so the people in Virginia didn't have a say-so in the matter, and we kind of threaded the needle on that one. And I would say it's probably a sore point between West Virginia and Virginia these days. Could you imagine us here in Texas? And the legend is we can divide into 5 states. And could you imagine Austin says, okay, we're going to do that and have a close confederation? Well, you can't have a confederation according to the Constitution. But yeah, that would have been pretty cool. Austin directs all 5 states, and we do it like that. But yeah, you can't have a confederation. Let's see. So yeah, it's a power grab on behalf of the Democrats to get 51 states, and then if this doesn't work, what do you do next? Well, let's get a 51st state. Let's go to Puerto Rico. I think I've said this several episodes ago. Puerto Rico, they're great people. I have lots of friends that are Puerto Rican. They're the reason why they live in the United States, though. Puerto Rico's dirt poor. Okay? They carry a massive load of debt. If we were to become, if they were to become a state, we would have to do something about their debt, because states can't carry debt. Okay, that's why you have property taxes and legislatures. Only the federal government can carry debt. If I'm wrong, let me know. But so I think I heard it was $80 billion in debt that we would have to assume on behalf of the state of Puerto Rico. And now, how many people in Puerto Rico actually pay taxes? Or how many people live in poverty in that state? Okay, is it over 50%? Is it over 75%? Do we give them welfare benefits? How do we support them? How do they support the United States? Because are we going to admit a welfare state to the Union? And you can say the same thing to Washington, D.C. You know, how are they going to be a functioning member of the United States of America, and they don't give nothing back to the United States of America except for, we'll give you a U.S. House seat and we'll give you 2 U.S. senators? There's more than becoming a state than having elected members to that body. Give something back. Do you have any natural resources? What are you going to do? We had 2 hurricanes, I think it was 2 years ago, that went through Puerto Rico and decimated the island. And their infrastructure was so old because they're a commonwealth. They're responsible for their own infrastructure. Decimated their electrical system, where hardly anybody on the island had power. And the U.S. government went out and rebuilt it for them. Thank you. But I guarantee you there's places here in the United States that need that too. Okay? I would just remember, it's a power grab. Read Federalist 43, written by James Madison. Okay? Read the U.S. Constitution, Section 1, Article 1, Section 8. Just remember, the reason why we have such a district is to prevent state supremacy over the United States Capitol. Okay? Whether they want to believe it or not, that's the reason for having a neutral capital. Okay? We're not an international city, or we don't abide by international laws. We have our Constitution. We swear to uphold and defend. Okay? If they want to make DC capital, one quick solution: recommend to the president by 3/4 vote a constitutional amendment to the United States admitting D.C. as a state. And then it goes to 3/4 of the state legislatures for them to approve. So if you have 3/4 of the people in the Congress and 3/4 of the state legislatures that say, yes, let's make DC a state. Then we have a constitutional amendment, it's approved, and they become a state. Until then, right, it's going to be the continuous District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., the seat of our government, with the mayor and the secretary of the army, and that's the way it should be. All right. So, we've only been talking about 20 minutes, so it's a short, sweet, and to the point. Okay, so I'll caveat onto this at the end. This nonsense that keeps coming out of the progressive Democrats about the transitioning of our country, whether it be, like I was saying, the Supreme Court, taxes, Second Amendment rights, freedom of speech rights, big tech, DC statehood. I don't know what else I've missed. I know I've missed a lot more out of that. But money keeps flowing that we don't have, that we're getting from China and Japan and other entities. You know how you prevent it? Every time that there is an election, go vote. If it's a nonpartisan election, find out if they're conservative. Because they may come and say, well, this is a nonpartisan race. I don't have to disclose my political affiliation. Well, we're not asking you to run into a primary. You're running for election. And it's all right to know, are you progressive, liberal, or are you conservative? And if you're conservative, you're a Republican. Okay? Only vote Republicans. Okay? Be smart about it. We want to take our country back? Vote. Vote, vote, vote. And, you ask them flat out, are you pro-life? Are you pro-2A? Are you against CRT being taught in our schools? Are you against the liberal agenda being taught in our schools? The goal of going through school is learning the subjects that are going to take you forward in life and make you a better citizen in the United States, a more productive citizen in the United States. But, you don't need to be going through socialistic criteria in the school systems to be an effective. What you need to do, you need to learn your history. You need to learn how to write papers. You need to learn how to do advanced mathematics. And you know how to do a science. Okay? That'll take you places in the world. Oh, the places you'll go. Okay? Cool stuff. Bet you don't know who wrote that. So I hope everybody has a good day. I might pop out another one this weekend for the JP8 report. Remember, JP8report@gmail.com. I'm on Rumble. I'm on Podbean. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Apple. Okay. When you get a chance, look at my podcast. Comment on it. Share it. Okay. Subscribe and share it. Let's get more subscribers here. I have lots of good information I can always put out. I'm conservative, and I like to talk about this stuff. I know it very, very well, and I always welcome your comments. So write me or comment on my pages, okay? This is JP8 Report, James Pierce. I'm out.